Some places don't just roll out the red carpet for black travelers, they roll up the welcome mat entirely. If you're thinking about booking a trip or relocating, you might want to know about the white countries where black people face rudeness and racism. Because let's be honest, no one wants to spend their vacation dodging microaggressions like they're playing an unwanted game of cultural dodgeball. In this video, 10 white countries where black people face rudeness and racism. Beware before you visit. We're diving deep into the rudest white countries for black travelers. Places where everything from side-eyes to straight-up hostility is served up daily. From casual discrimination to systems that make life harder for minorities, these destinations reveal where racism still exists in broad daylight. Whether it's a country that has a big problem with black people, or one that makes it crystal clear that diversity is just a word in the dictionary, we're exposing the reality behind the travel brochures. So buckle up, hit that subscribe button, and stay tuned till the end, because some of these places might just shock you. Let's talk in the comments. Have you ever felt unwelcome while traveling? In no particular order, let's jump right in. Number 1. Finland. Finland, the land of Nokia, saunas, and the kind of cold that makes you question your life choices. But you know what else is cold here? The reception black people get. Now let's talk about something that really exposed Finland's racial issues. In December 2024, a woman named Daniela Owusu, a Finnish citizen of Ghanaian descent, was chosen to represent St. Lucie in a national celebration. A proud moment, right? Wrong. Instead of cheers, she got a tsunami of racist backlash because apparently some Finns couldn't handle the idea of a black woman representing a cultural icon. And this wasn't just a few angry Facebook comments from keyboard warriors. The outrage was so bad, it made national headlines. Imagine living in a country your whole life, being fully Finnish, and yet people act like you're an outsider the moment you step into the spotlight. Makes you wonder, how Finnish do you have to be before you're accepted? But let's not stop at one incident. Studies have shown that Finland has some of the highest rates of racial discrimination in Europe. From job rejections to police profiling, black residents here often feel like second-class citizens in their own country. Ever tried walking into a bar and feeling the energy in the room shift like you just crashed a Nordic family reunion? That's the kind of silent but undeniable racism that many black people experience in Finland. It's not just the outright hostility, it's the exclusion, the stares, and the uncomfortable silence that says you don't belong here. So Finland, beautiful landscapes, great public services, but if you're black, let's just say, bring a thick coat for both the weather and the icy attitudes. Number 2. Netherlands. The Netherlands is often painted as the poster child for open-mindedness. Weed is legal, cycling is practically a religion, and the government claims to embrace tolerance for all. But scratch the surface, and you'll find that some Dutch traditions are stuck in the past. Like way in the past. Let's talk about Black Pete, Zwarte Piet, a Christmas tradition that's got more controversy than a reality TV reunion. Every December, while most of the world is putting up Christmas lights, the Dutch are busy painting their faces black, slapping on red lipstick, and donning curly wigs to play Santa's helper. And before you ask, yes, people have been calling this out as blatantly racist for years. But instead of just, not doing it, some Dutch folks double down like their holiday season depends on it. It's tradition, they say. But let's be honest, so was segregation, and nobody's fighting to bring that back. Now you might think, okay, that's just one holiday thing. Surely, everyday life in the Netherlands is different? Well, not exactly. Job applications from people with African-sounding names are far less likely to get responses, and some landlords have perfected the art of suddenly losing interest when a black tenant applies. Ever walked into a store and felt like the security guard got a little too interested in your shopping habits? That's not just paranoia. It's a shared experience for many black people in the Netherlands. So, while the Netherlands loves to flex its reputation for being progressive, it's got a few skeletons in its wooden-clogged closet. Number 3. Germany. So at number 3 on our list is Germany. Surprised? Probably not. This is the country where efficiency is king, but apparently, so is racial discrimination. Studies show that racism toward black people isn't just present here, it's growing. That's right, instead of declining like a bad stock investment, it's trending upwards like German engineering. Recent surveys indicate that Germany has some of the highest rates of racial harassment and discrimination in Europe. In fact, over 54% of black respondents in the country reported experiencing racist treatment in just the past 5 years. 54%. That means if you're black and in Germany, there's a good chance you'll encounter everything from annoying microaggressions to full-blown hostility. Ever had a stranger grab your hair like you're some kind of exotic zoo exhibit? Yeah, that's not just a what if. That's a lived experience for many black folks in Germany. And let's talk about everyday life. Want to rent an apartment? Some landlords seem to have a special filter that mysteriously blocks applications from people with African names. Looking for a job? Certain industries will make you feel like you accidentally stepped into the wrong country. Shopping in a store? You might notice the staff suddenly channeling their inner security guard, following you down every aisle like you've got a most wanted sign taped to your back. Now, let's get real. Germany has a lot going for it. Rich history, stunning architecture, and public transport that actually works. But for black visitors and residents, it's not all fairy tales and Oktoberfest. The reality is that Germany has a serious racism problem. And it's not just whispers in the dark, the numbers back it up. Number 4. France. France, the land of wine, baguettes, and breathtaking monuments. But if you're black, let's just say, the Eiffel Tower isn't the only thing giving off cold iron stares. Now you might think a country famous for its philosophy of freedom and revolution would be a beacon of racial equality, right? Wrong. France has a long history of selective inclusion, and in 2024, they made it painfully clear who's included and who's not. Meet Mabula Sumahoro, a respected black French scholar who was set to speak at the European Parliament about racism. Seems fair, considering black people in France experience some of the worst economic and social disparities in Europe. But before she could even take the mic, far-right politicians had the event shut down. Their reason? They accused her of being anti-white. Let's pause for a second. A black woman talking about racism was considered too controversial for a country that prides itself on free speech? If that's not irony at its finest, I don't know what is. And this isn't an isolated incident. France has a deep-rooted issue with racial denial. The country doesn't even collect racial data, because acknowledging race somehow makes racism worse. Yet, somehow, black people in France make up a significant portion of the unemployed, underpaid, and over-policed population. Ever walked into a high-end store in Paris and had security watch you like you were planning a heist? Or tried renting an apartment, only to be mysteriously told it's no longer available? Welcome to the unspoken reality of being black in France. So, if you're thinking about a romantic getaway to Paris, just know, while the croissants might be warm, the attitudes might not be. Number 5. Ireland. Ireland, the land of rolling green hills, lively pubs, and stories so good they turn into legends. But here's a story they don't put in the tourist brochures: the rise in race hate crimes. Now, Ireland is known for its hospitality, right? They'll invite you in, offer you a pint, and call you mate before you even know their name. But if you're black, well, let's just say some people here still haven't gotten the memo that it's the 21st century. Race hate crimes in Northern Ireland have jumped by a third in just the past year. That's not just a statistic. That's a glaring neon sign that racism is alive and thriving. And it's not just a few isolated incidents. Black residents have reported everything from verbal abuse to physical attacks, property damage, and even being driven out of certain neighborhoods. Imagine walking down the street, minding your own business, and suddenly hearing, "Go back to your own country." But wait, you actually live here. You pay taxes, work, and contribute to society. But nope, to some people, your skin tone is a permanent outsider label. And don't even get me started on nightclubs. Ever tried getting into a bar in Dublin only to be mysteriously denied entry, right before a group of white guys strolls in with zero issues? Yeah, it happens a lot. Now let's be fair. Not all Irish people are racist. In fact, many speak out against it and want change. But when race-based attacks are rising this fast, you've got to wonder, what's really brewing in Ireland besides Guinness? Hold up. Before we dive into the rest of the list, let's take a second. If you're finding this eye-opening or straight-up shocking, do me a favor. Hit that like button so more people can see this. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Virtual Travel by Brian because we're just getting started. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. It only gets more unbelievable from here. Number 6. United Kingdom. The UK loves to pride itself on being multicultural. But let's be real, some doors are only open if your skin tone fits the decor. And if you're black, well, let's just say the British police might take a special interest in you. Let's talk about stop and search. In the UK, black people are 7 times more likely to be stopped by police than their white counterparts. 7 times. Now, unless black folks are secretly the world's worst at hiding things, it's pretty obvious what's going on here. Imagine walking home after a long day, minding your business, and suddenly you hear, "Excuse me, mate, can we have a word?" Next thing you know, you're standing on the sidewalk, getting patted down for looking suspicious. Meanwhile, Chad in his North Face jacket walks by with actual illegal substances in his pocket, and no one bats an eye. But it doesn't stop there. Job discrimination? Check. Renting an apartment? Hope you've got a British-sounding name. And let's not forget nightlife. Some clubs have an unspoken no more than 2 black guys at a time policy. Because apparently, if 3 black men enter a bar, it's not a joke, it's a problem. And yet the UK will tell you racism isn't an issue here. It's not like America, they'll say. But when black Brits are disproportionately targeted, underpaid, and over-policed, what exactly is it like? Number 7. Austria. Step into Austria, a country famous for the sound of music, breathtaking Alps, and racism that ranks among the worst in Europe. That's right, Austria isn't just home to classical composers, it also seems to have composed a symphony of discrimination. According to recent reports, over 70% of black people in Austria have experienced racial discrimination in the past 5 years. 70%. That means if you're black and you walk into a room with 10 people, at least 7 of them have a story to tell. And trust me, it's not about how welcoming the locals were. Now, let's paint a picture. You land in Vienna, eager to explore the stunning palaces and historic streets. But instead of indulging in a rich cultural experience, you get a different kind of tour. One filled with cold stares, whispered remarks, and the occasional seat magically becoming taken the moment you try to sit down. Want to rent an apartment? Good luck. Some landlords here act like they're casting for an all-white historical drama. If your name sounds even remotely not Austrian, your application might suddenly get lost. Job hunting? Certain industries make it clear that diversity is just a word they heard once at an EU conference. And shopping? Ever had security tail you around a store like you're planning a high-stakes jewelry heist when you just came in for toothpaste? Welcome to Austria. What's baffling is that Austria ranks as one of the best countries to live in, but apparently that ranking forgot to include black residents. With some of the highest racial discrimination rates in Europe, it's clear that the country has a problem it refuses to acknowledge. Number 8. Italy. Italy, land of Michelangelo, pizza, and police who seem to think melanin is a crime. You'd think a country famous for art, fashion, and la dolce vita would be more inclusive, right? Wrong. Let's talk about the Italian police, who were called out in October 2024 by the Council of Europe for, you guessed it, racial profiling and abuse. And guess who's at the top of their random search list? Black people and Roma communities. Ever been casually walking through Rome, enjoying the scenery, when suddenly you're stopped and asked for ID like you just snuck into the country last night? That's not just a bad luck coincidence, that's a trend. And it happens so often that international organizations had to step in and say, "Hey Italy, this is kinda racist." Of course, Italian leaders denied everything faster than a waiter refusing to put pineapple on pizza. But let's look at the facts. Studies show that black residents and migrants in Italy are disproportionately targeted by law enforcement, face discrimination in employment, and often experience hostility in public spaces. And let's not forget the unofficial racism, the kind that shows up in side eyes, denied job applications, and landlords who suddenly decide the apartment isn't available when they see your face. Now, don't get me wrong, Italy is stunning. The food? Perfection. The architecture? Breathtaking. But for Black travelers and residents, it can sometimes feel like a history museum that forgot to update its social policies. Number 9. Portugal. Portugal is often sold as a paradise of golden beaches, affordable living, and delicious pastéis de nata. But let's be real, it's not paradise for everyone. In October 2024, a Black man was shot by police in Lisbon's suburbs, and before the news could even settle, protests were already brewing. Why? Because for Black people in Portugal, this wasn't some shocking, once-in-a-lifetime tragedy. It was yet another entry in a long list of racial profiling, police brutality, and discrimination. Now, let's get something straight. Portugal loves to present itself as a laid-back, easygoing country. But ask Black residents, and you'll hear stories of over-policing, harassment, and an unspoken message that they aren't truly Portuguese, even if they were born and raised there. Want proof? Studies show that Afro-Portuguese individuals face higher unemployment rates, worse wages, and disproportionately high rates of police violence. Some officers don't even bother hiding their biases. Just being Black in the wrong neighborhood can get you questioned, searched, or worse. And the reaction? Authorities always seem shocked when racial injustice makes headlines. Meanwhile, Black communities in Portugal don't have the luxury of shock. They live it. Portugal may be sunny, but not every shadow is cast by palm trees. Number 10. United States. America loves to market itself as the land of opportunity, where anyone can chase the American dream. But let's be honest, some dreams come with disclaimers. If you're Black in the US, that dream can sometimes feel like a never-ending reality check. Let's start with the big elephant in the room: policing. Black Americans are nearly 3 times more likely to be killed by police than white Americans. 3 times. That's not a rounding error. That's a national crisis. And it's not just about fatal encounters. Driving while Black? That might get you pulled over. Shopping while Black? Expect extra surveillance. Simply existing while Black? Someone might call the cops just because they felt uncomfortable. And then there's the double standard in justice. Ever noticed how when a Black person is suspected of a crime, they're instantly labeled a thug, but when a white person does something 10 times worse, they're given the troubled individual treatment? Yeah, America has a PR problem when it comes to race. But racism doesn't just wear a badge, it also wears a suit and tie. The wage gap? Still a thing. Housing discrimination? Oh, absolutely. Studies show Black applicants are more likely to be denied loans, less likely to be hired, and often shown fewer housing options than their white counterparts, even when their financial qualifications are the same. And let's talk about everyday interactions. Ever been told, "Wow, you're so articulate," as if basic grammar is a rare skill? Or had someone randomly reach for your hair like you're a petting zoo exhibit? That's not a compliment, that's coded racism in action. And yet, America swears it's post-racial because Beyoncé sells out stadiums. But tell me, if racism were over, why do we keep seeing the same headlines, the same protests, and the same tragedies year after year? So, the question remains, is the US really the land of the free, or just free for some? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you found this video eye-opening, hit that like button, subscribe to Virtual Travel by Brian, and stay tuned for more deep dives into global realities.